coming live, finally here, not from Taiwan, but from, in fact, one of these servers that's happening in the Australia region. I'm, of course, your host, Yaku of the Zaku, kicking it here with the 15th edition of Demi SEA Weekly. The last time we have it weekly, as after today, unfortunately, we are going to have to go back to the old bi-weekly, or not bi-weekly, semi-weekly, fortnightly, if you will, schedule. With me today is El Golpa de Ternera que come hojas de pan tostado, like _VIP. How we doing, like?
Todas las hojas, we are back. Welcome. Thank you so much, Yaku. As you said, we are here on the NA server. We can talk a little bit about it later, about what is broken, what isn't broken. There have been some people active on social media about it.
I don't even know for sure what is broken and what isn't. It seems so random.
It kind of is. But mate, we're here once again with some AU versus AU action.
That we do, not just any AU versus AU, but a good old team rivalry and a good old TvZ. Starting here on the romanticide LE. And of course standing for lovers eating. That's like when you get stroked beef. Here in the bottom right corner of the map, swatting all the way in the bottom right hand corner, the blue Terran player playing in his preferred color here. He is coming down from the land of Brisbane, representing Legacy Esports. He is Azure.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Romanticide LE, we have the other Australian player also coming from the land of Brisbane. It is, of course, representing Downfall Gaming, the FG. It is Oreo. Half of the creamy couple.
Yeah, if you will.
The better half.
Who's the other half? Is it milk?
It's milk, mate.
Oh no.
I remember he questioned me about it because we had ESL Americas the following day. He's like, who's Oreo? So what the hell's going on? Well, I'm not even there. Oh god.
Listen. At least you didn't have to explain to him the concept of stroked beef yet.
No, yeah, mate. Wow, I can't wait for that one, mate. That's gonna be. Oh boy. But for those wondering why it took a little bit to get the tournament up and running, me and Michael was talking about it. There are specific GM accounts that are locked at the moment. Which is why Azure, because his main account is GM, had to switch over to his unranked account to actually play in a custom game.
Huh.
Yeah.
Right, and...
So those GM accounts, they can't ladder, which is specifically what me and Michael was talking about, and they can't, like, play in custom games.
Right, is that why he was on his Jiggly account?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That is sort of making a bit more sense, but you know, GM being locked, that is not making as much sense.
It's like,
I'm being honest with you.
We're making sense of what is happening. We don't know why though. Like what broke over? Yeah, what broke over at the Blizzard HQ? Like, did like the intern spill a cup of coffee over the servers or something? Like, what happened? I don't know, mate.
They're extending it so instead of top 200, it's top 201 because like the son of the guy is ranked 201 on NA right now.
There you go. But yeah, I don't know to what extent as to how many like GM accounts are being affected. I don't know if it's just specific to the Southeast Asian and Oceanic region.
It seems to be fine on the Asia server. It's just pretty much the NA server that's having issues. Not sure about EU, but I mean the European players are asleep, so we'll probably get that shortly in a couple hours.
That's probably what we'll find out. But yeah, like there are workarounds obviously when it comes to a tournament like this. Like players do have multiple accounts, so they can just hop onto one that is unranked or not GM, and then they can play out there. Speaking of which, mate, we're getting into this game.
That we are. And I suppose we're kind of lucky that we're starting things off on Romanticide.
Mhm.
You know, nice large macro map. Neither player deciding to do anything too cheeky to start things off, so we do have that little bit of time earlier on to actually talk about how NA is a little borked.
Yeah. Nothing like when it comes to the early aggression. Obviously, we do have this 1-1-1 opening, and the Banshee is about to dive in, but looks like he is waiting for Cloak, because Cloak is still a little bit of a ways off.
Yeah, I mean, it is astronomical
Ooh.
how much better 2 Banshees with Cloak is compared to 1 Banshee without Cloak. And it's also astronomical how much better Hellions are when you kite them than when you don't.
I was waiting for the moment, because usually when that happens, like halfway through, the player realizes, oh my god, my Hellions, and moves them back. Mate, they never moved back. They just...
I have a feeling that Azure doesn't have all of his options optimized on this account.
It's possible. Maybe he was paying a little bit too much attention to the Banshee. The Banshee did get 1 worker kill, but is 1 worker kill really worth the cost of, what was that, like 6 Hellions going down for free?
Well, tangibly no, but intangibly.
I guess I'm wrong. Sorry, 8 Hellions going down for free. Oh god.
Well, there's no... Tangibly, it's not worth it, but...
Is tangibly your new inertia? Is that your word of the week? You're like,
tangible
tangibly. Oh god. Yeah. So,
can you tell?
I can. Honestly, that's...
I was gonna say, can you tell that that's the question I answered for myself?
Honestly, this is really disastrous for Azure, because 8 Hellions, like, that was his map control. Not just map control, that was going to slow down the spread of the creep, that was going to make sure that the Lings couldn't really move out across the map unhindered. Now there's, like, so much banking on these Banshees to really pay for themselves and more.
Yeah, let's hope they can get something done over here. And Azure is making the best out of what he's got right now. That's honestly quite a bit more drones than I expected to go down. Yes, that's part of it is that Oreo has concentrated most of his queens to the front of the creep, but now that he's sent them back home, these should not get too many more kills. Banshees will go down, but 8 drones, that's not too bad.
Yeah,
all things considered.
Yeah, honestly, that's pretty good, right? Like, part of it was like, you know, there's no creep connecting the main and the naturals, so like it took a really long time for the queens to really come over and help, and yeah, that was some really nice control there by Azure. Again, he really needed that to happen. Like, he needed to deal some kind of damage as he's slowly getting into the swing of things, and yeah, looking to apply some pressure with these drops.
Yeah, or at least take back the map control here, clear up as much creep as he possibly can, which he's trying to do, but Oreo is already on top of defending that.
That he is, as the drop is forced back, and this is getting really scary because Oreo's creep spread, again, because of the lack of Hellions, has been kind of insane. Like, he's almost at the front door of the potential 4th base of Azure, and then he's gonna like start sieging and just can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, that's it. That's only a potential 4th base right now for Azure. If you look at the other side of the map, Oreo is very much concentrated here on making... I'm not sure if I call it a highway, honestly, but yeah, he's very concentrated on trying to get to this path of attack, and I'm not really sure what that is. I suppose he just wants to be able to smash at that 3rd base location as quickly as he can, but the question is, why?
Is that the question? I honestly, I'm really
tangible benefits.
So I'm really curious, because so far Oreo has been stuck on Ling Bane. He did have to throw down the Hydrogen earlier, and he is going into lurkers.
Yeah. We have seen this rise a little bit in ZVT. Hopefully, you'll be able to get a couple of Vipers out to be able to deal with some potential tanks that are coming out from Azure, but right now it seems like it's focused more on 4M, Marine Medevac Mine.
Yeah, the scary thing is that Azure hasn't scouted what's coming out, right? Like, he doesn't know if it's Hydras or if it's Mutas, or if it's just Ling Bane straight into Ultras, right? Like, he just hasn't really been able to see much tech whatsoever. So if he's not prepared for it, if he doesn't have a bunch of scans ready and saved up, like, lurkers can be terrifying.
I'm just keeping my eye on those orbital commands at the moment. He also, unfortunately, does have to expend these scans on clearing the creep right now. Has not teched into a Raven. Not quite a hut a hut kind of Terran, Azure is.
Not quite, not quite. And there we go. Hive is done. We have Lurker Range on the way. We've got Adrenal Glands on the way. Azure is finally taking his 4th base, and a really interesting 4th base location as well. You know, taking advantage of that gas, and he's pushing on forward. There's not that much Ling Bane here. Ooh.
There really isn't. Oreo right now really banking on those lurkers come out, and I think they have been revealed right now for Azure. He does know what's coming his way. Pretty nice position here with the mines of the tanks and the liberators. Just needs to make sure that the bio stays alive. Link's trying to slip on in, but get annihilated by the tanks of the planetary fortress. This is a position that Oreo cannot break, and I'm hoping he realizes that. Maybe keep a couple of lurkers here to contain Azure, and then try to hit somewhere else.
Exactly. Like you were mentioning it earlier, Vipers would be beautiful right now. Like these tanks, they're terrifying, but they're also incredibly bunched up. Like 2 solid blinding clouds would be insane. And oh my god, the lurkers are left exposed.
That they really are. The beautiful surround comes in. Is it a trap though? Not where the hot pickup is concerned. Azure keeping the majority of his forces alive, whereas Oreo, he's just lost his anchor.
Exactly. That was like, what, 5, 6 lurkers going down for free? Meanwhile, it looks like Oreo, he is foreseeing the future 2 minutes ahead of time as the Vipers are finally on the way to in production, but it's a little bit too late considering the amount of lurkers that he's already lost.
Yeah, he's trying to remake them as quickly as he can, and to be fair, they do have some decent upgrades. It shouldn't be too terrible. Well, I say upgrades are decent, but yeah, he's only working on his +1 range at the moment. Seems like for the longest time, Oreo did want to go into Ling Bane straight into Ultras, but somewhere along the way decided, you know what? I'm gonna go for lurkers.
Yeah, I mean, lurkers, as you said, like, you know, Dark has been doing incredibly well with them. I know some European Zerg players have been playing with them in this matchup as well. So it looks like, I know Oreo's a big fan of Lambo. He's trying it out, and it could work to his advantage here. But again, like, he's being split apart a little bit here. He's struggling to really spread out his army. Oh,
that he really is. All these Banelings are so exposed. And Azure managing to keep most of his Marines alive with that hot pickup. And yeah, he's just going to be bouncing back and forth between bases right now. There's a massive area here in the main where there is no creep spread, and all of these links are starting to stream in right into their depths.
Yeah, exactly. These are still 2-2 lings, so they don't have that much longevity to them as they all go down. Now the Bioforce is getting into the main base where the tech is vulnerable, but it looks like there are plenty of lings here to just barely clean things up. And Oreo, it looks like he's looking into the next stage of the game. He's actually throwing down 2 spires.
But I feel like he might be a little bit of... There might be a little bit of delay going on, question mark, 2-minute delay going on with Oreo right now, because I feel like he's just thinking too far into the future.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like there's a lot of potential with his current army, right? Especially if he wasn't so stubborn trying to push into this area, right? Like if he just rotated around, trying to go for another angle. I mean, double spire play, I imagine, into Broodlords would work well, but yeah, it's gonna take quite some time.
On the one hand, you kind of look at this scenario and you think, okay, you know what, Oreo, he's actually keeping the main army of Azure back over here. He has quite a lot of bases on his side, so yeah, maybe he does have the opportunity to go into these Root Lords, right? But on the flip side, Azure is also on, what is that, 6 bases? If my counting is correct, 5 bases, and he's taking up a heck of a lot. He's a Terran player with plenty of orbital command, so he doesn't really need, as many workers. I mean, just look at an army supply difference.
Yeah, like, Azure is incredibly turtled up. Like, because Oreo is spending so much, or is focusing so much on this point right here, this choke point, we do see, like, all these mines, tanks, missile turrets even being thrown down. Because this base was taken first, it's, like, really easy for Azure to then expand here to the south. Like, it's a very safe location to take, so he's just continuing to expand. Meanwhile, Oreo, I do like this. It looks like maybe he's gonna try and bust into the natural, but yo, BC's already ready and waiting.
Ready and waiting. Those BCs are a lot of mines around that area as well. What do you think of Oreo maybe trying to, what's the word I'm thinking of here, like flank that planetary fortress? Well, he doesn't do it anyway.
You mean this one? Yeah? Yeah, honestly, I would love it. Like, he would go for like a big like surround, or at least attempt to go for a surround, or maybe just outflank the army, but yeah, he's just opting not to go for that.
These Zergs are pretty decent on the Liberators, but yeah, just not quite enough anti-air to really one-shot it out. And Azure is just leveraging his advantage, just best he can with these VCs, getting some very tangible results with them.
Yeah, exactly. There's just not enough anti-air. The majority of the Hydras were turned into lurkers, so Oreo has to wait for his Corruptors to finish up. He did have 12 in production, and they are coming out now. The BCs should go down. They did waste their teleports, but oh god, the Corruptors are not enough of them.
Well, yeah, one of these BCs should go down at least, but these Corruptors, as you said, they are starting to trickle into their deaths here. The Yamato cannons are really helping out. I think it's actually just Yamato, there's no cannon.
Oh boy,
yeah. That's a decent person bomb that you throw in a couple of those, not Liberators, sorry, Medivacs.
Yeah, yeah.
Live in the end, though.
Oh god, and it looks like maybe there are enough Corruptors here to take down another one of these BCs, mate. These BCs have just done so much damage. Ugh.
They really have. This entire time, Azure was just building up the armor upgrades for his vehicles. And it's really paying off right now.
Yeah, definitely. Finally, Oreo deals with them. At the same time, the main army of Azure is pushing on forward. He cannot break the lurkers quite yet, but what he was able to do is deny this southern hatchery.
Which honestly has a lot of value on its own.
That it does,
Oreo has been on, what is that, 6 bases for the longest time right now. He's very quickly about to mine out.
Finally, he's starting to take some of these new bases to the north, and I think this is something that he probably should have done earlier. Like, all these northern bases like have been untouched. Like, they're ripe for the taking for the Zerg player, and Oreo hasn't really taken advantage of that.
Yeah. That he really has not. He's playing the game of, I want to deny my opponent bases as opposed to, you know, taking my own bases, which has a couple of mixed results. Very nice push into that entrenched position, though. And Oreo will just about, not necessarily break this location, but has made a ton of grounds. Here we go. We'll be able to deny the Planetary Fortress at the very least.
Oh yeah. The Planetary Fortress does go down. Oh, but the BCs are coming in to clean up. Run away, lurkers. Oh god.
Right in the middle there.
And that is the power of the lurkers, especially in this matchup. Like, you need to be aggressive with them. You need, like, that's the power of adaptive challenge. You go in, you just charge straight into the army, you burrow, and then the AoE damage just, like, kills everything.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me, like, I haven't seen none of that plenty of times as Charon player. I'm actually curious, what happens if you borrowed the lurker after Yamato fires?
That's a good question. We need some useless fun facts.
Help us out here. But yeah, we're getting into a bit of a pseudo-base trade right now. It's not maxed out armies trying to kill each other's locations. Whoa! Teleports to BCs right away from there to get away from those Corruptors, and Azure getting so much value done.
Yeah, exactly. The BCs teleport into the main base. There are enough Corruptors to clean them up, but what about the main army? They take down another hatchery. Is there enough Ling Bane to clean it up? No banelings whatsoever. They're only just being morphed in now.
I tell you what, like, there are plenty of lurkers that are around, and there's not enough scans. Eventually, Azure is going to run out.
That he is, as the BCs are cleaned up. Again, they wasted their teleports to go into the main base, and Azure, as a result, he lost 2 bases. He is attempting to reclaim one of them, but Azure spent a lot of supply there. To be fair, though, so did like, he dealt some damage. Like, he was able to kill 2 hatcheries.
He dealt a lot of damage. He killed those 2 hatcheries. The worker count for Oreo went from, what, I think it was 90 to 55, and to be fair, Oreo probably had to let up on some of those workers, but not to this extent. He spent his entire bank, and he's struggling to remake any sort of army.
Exactly. Well, he's running out of money, right? Like, look at this base here. Like, he's only got 1 mineral patch here. He's got 4. He desperately needs a new base, and immediately gets canceled.
Just like so. Meanwhile, Azure, he has also spent his bank, but he has the much better production, and on his side, he's using very cheap units here, these Marines. So getting a bit of a reverse scenario. He's also keeping his very high-cost units alive, like these BCs. So, yeah, we're getting a bit of a reverse scenario. Normally, you imagine Zerg player being the one to overwhelm their Terran opponent on production, but we're seeing Azure can do that instead.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Azure had, sure, he lost a couple of CCs, but he had the CCs to replace them, is the thing. Like, so really he still has a pretty good economy going compared to Oreo, who still just is struggling to get another base up and running. Finally he does establish this hatchery, but there's nothing stopping these BCs from targeting it down. Like, Oreo has just lost so many, too many of his corruptors.
That he definitely has.
He's got 3.
Even with Parabomb, that's not gonna do much. Maybe it'll kill that low health BC, but yeah, even then, I'm pretty doubtful.
I mean, it can just be repaired.
It's pretty OP, yeah.
Yeah, like, honestly, it's possible that just these 4 BCs could win the game. Like, it's Azure, he's maxed out. Oreo, he's struggling at the moment. He's trying his best to kind of get his economy up and running, and if he's given the time, he can, to be fair. The problem is that, like, again, his main focus is here to the south, and he's spread too thin. He can't protect the northern bases.
That he absolutely cannot, and he even kind of knows it. No, he's losing the Vipers, and those are full health.
The Vipers go down.
But to be fair, I don't think it would have made that much difference in the end. We are seeing Azure starting to really overwhelm Oreo.
Yeah.
And Oreo, I mean, he's sticking on. He does have a couple of bases that have minerals on them, so he wants to see how long he can, you know, sort of stake it out, hope that Azure makes a mistake that brings him back into this game, but not looking too likely at the moment.
Yeah, like, there is definitely a chance here for Oreo. It's one of those things where Oreo just needs to give up the south. Like, he needs to stop trying to fight this army and focus on defending the bases that actually matter. Like, unlike a base like this that has 3 mineral patches. Like, sure, there's value here, but, like, you really need to, like, consider the situation you're in and be like, I just can't afford to risk, like, protecting it. And oh god, he's going in right now. The Bailey connections are incredibly juicy, but
yeah, honestly, but there's just way too much value here to clean up everything else, just barely. With a couple of reinforcements, does the Oreo hang on, but how many lurkers has he lost? I think that was 5 lurkers initially, and now it's on to 2 of them. These BCs, as you said,
devastating. Yeah,
are coming in completely undisturbed. The Corruptor sent very far into the south. Azure, he's showing off his positional awareness.
Exactly. He does lose 1 BC, but, like, at the cost of a base and 11 drones. Jesus Christ. Oreo, of course, he did lose the southern base. He has been trading as best as he can. But again, he has to, like, pick and choose his fights, and we'll see if it's worth it. Oh no.
And that was a bit of a poor choice, in my opinion.
It was. The Bailey connection, the Widowmine connections have been crazy for Azure, and Oreo has just been losing too much here. Thankfully, Azure wasn't going for multi-prong. Like, if he was, like, it would be GG.
I think kind of the opposite right there. GG, there we go. Azure does take game number 1. And towards the end of the game, when, you know, we had that sort of pseudo base trade going on, and we were looking at the aftermath of that when it got really scrappy, I just had to imagine, what if Oreo did take those northern bases earlier?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if those northern bases were mined out earlier, then it would matter so much less that they were going down, right? Like, there wouldn't be that much just such a critical, like, strategic position that had to be taken for Oreo, and he just couldn't hang on to it. With that, GG. Azure takes game 1.
Indeed he does, and this isn't even his GM account.
It's not. Oh boy.
Wait a little bit for game number 2 to be created over here. Players have done their vetoes before this series started.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see what is going to be the choice here of composition for Oreo, because to me, from what I've seen from Oreo, it does feel like he's trying out new things. Like, he's trying out, like, Lingbane into lurkers, essentially, and honestly, he had varying success there. I imagine that it's kind of a map thing that he struggled with there, like, because it's so large and because lurkers can be so, like, immobile and so stationary. He was kind of struggling to protect all his bases.
Yeah, I guess you can definitely tell that this is a little bit newer to Oreo. Even throughout the mid game that was going on there, I was still expecting him to go into Ultralist for his late game just because he was very committed to the melee upgrades earlier on.
Yeah,
Took him a little while to get those range, to get +1 range there.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't have surprised if Azure if he thought the same thing as well. He's like, I didn't see any Hydras, I didn't see any Mutas. Is he going straight to Ultras? Question mark. Nope.
Might as well. As we continue the series on to Def Aura LE. We're spawning here in the top left-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the top left-hand corner. We have the blue Terran player playing on his preferred color. He was definitely very patient towards the end of that last game, and it paid off massively. Can he show off that positional mastery? Once again, he is coming out from the land of Brisbane, representing Legacy Esports. He is Azure. Ahai.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Death Aura LE, we have the Australian Azure player. He is red, representing his team Downfall Gaming, DFG. It is Oreo.
And what we think of, and as we think of continuing the maps here, you have to think back to what you said earlier on. We mentioned that maybe Oreo was going for lurkers as a map-specific kind of thing. Maybe he wanted to utilize that mostly in Romanticide. That's the name of the last map. Def Aura, on the other hand, we've seen it a couple of times in the past. Players go for lurkers, but I think Rainer said it the best when he said, "Why would I go for that unit? Fuck lurkers."
Maybe. I mean, I guess what I was getting at was that I feel like Oreo was trying out a new composition, and I don't think lurkers work anywhere near as well on Romanticide. I feel like there are other maps, like I feel like probably Oxide is the best example of a map where there are a lot more choke points and you can really utilize lurkers to their best advantage, right? On some of these other maps.
Get it all aligned.
Yeah. Maybe Death Aura is one of those maps. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Oreo go for a completely different composition altogether.
I'm expecting what's the build I'm thinking of here, like, nope, never mind.
What would you say? Fast Infestation Pit?
I was gonna say like gas first, but that's not what Oreo went for.
Not at all. Meanwhile, shout out to Logic in the chat. We've seen you a couple of times show up here. It is a bit of a shame we haven't seen you in the brackets. But yes, of course, when it comes to Grand Platypus Open and Demi SEA Weekly, these are full of the best players from our regions, Southeast Asia and Oceania. But you know, at the same time, don't you want to play against me and Micah? Don't you want the opportunity? I do.
I mean, should ask Cham about that one.
Cham wants to as well, mate. He wants that rematch. Oh god. One day. But
one day when Darking has money.
It's one of those things where like we did it ourselves, right? I believe you joined us in like signing up for Elima Leagues every now and then, you know. And sure, like we by no means thought that we would win in an Elima League, but like
I was silver when I was most active in Olimo League.
Yeah, but like the chance of like playing against like some of the Korean players or some of these pro players is exciting.
It really is exciting. You know what else is like? Roach Warren this early on is EVT.
Oh my.
Oreo really taking a page out of Dart right now.
Yeah, that he is. And honestly, we didn't really get to point it out, but the Reaper went down earlier as well to these queens. It was a little bit unlucky by Azure, but because of that, like, it's going to be so much more difficult for him to really get a scout off and see that Roach Warren.
Absolutely is. I mean, killing the initial tumor with your Reaper is really great. It's a fantastic feeling. But being unable to go for a second scout like this, it can definitely bite you, especially since Azure is going for a Hellbat push.
He is. The armory is on the way. He is going to go for a big committed Hellbat attack, and that's just going to crumble against the Roaches. Like to defend against this sort of thing, you need either Banelings, you know, to really kind of like close it out, or Roaches. And the threat with Roaches is that they can defend against this, and then he can go for a counterattack.
Very easily. I mean, at most, Hellbats are going to be able to kill maybe one roach in total. Azure now sees this, so he's going to back off real hard. The smartest thing to do. Maybe keep the Hellions to try to buy himself some time, but he really needs to start working on his defense. He's throwing out a bunker. I would not be surprised if he swaps some add-ons around to try to get a Banshee out.
He's only just now working on his tech lab. Like, he needs, what, tanks? He needs Banshees? He needs whatever it takes to hold on against roaches. Oh, God! The wall was almost not a wall.
That it was not. And we almost saw Azure crumble to the Lings, which would have been terrifying.
Oh boy. Okay. But yes, I love this from Azure. Like, he saw the roaches and he respects Oreo enough where he's like, okay, I'm not going to overcommit and try and brute force this to work. Like, it's not going to. I need to go on the defensive. Otherwise, I may just lose this game.
Okay, this is being ultra defensive right now. I'm really digging the positioning here of that Liberator, and he's repositioning as much as he can. That's the main weakness, right, of the Liberator. It's just the fact that it's so immobile. Your opponent is able to switch back and forth, and when you position your Liberator a little bit too far back, maybe say covering the bunker or what have you, you run the risk of the roaches just completely going, passing through it. But the fact that he's keeping it actually on the ramps, it's making Oreo think twice about pushing up.
Definitely. And Azure has bought enough time where now he has a tank. Now he is working on that Banshee. He's getting everything he needs to defend against some big committed roach push. And at the same time, he was feeling free enough to send his his Liberator across the map.
That's getting quite a bit. Give me on top of the gas, guaranteed at least one drone, but he gets three. No. And a queen. Unfortunate positioning coming down here from Oreo. It's happening again!
No, the transfer! No!
3 queens!
No, this is... Oreo, please!
That's it.
With that 3 queens go down. I mean, if he wants, he can use the Ravagers to pile down the Liberator, but this Liberator has more than paid for itself.
It absolutely has. It has killed so many queens. A couple of drones, and now it's just completely preventing the gas mining on top of this base. Roaches are a very gas-intensive unit, and when you want to go into lurkers as well, you're gonna need as much gas as you can get.
Man, Oreo is going full dark right now. Like, I like this a lot more than game number 1. Like, this does feel a little bit more fluid, but at the same time, again, losing the gases, losing the queens like that, especially because early on, queens are your main source of anti-air. Like, that's disastrous.
Absolutely is.
The Libby didn't even die, mate.
It's going back home a hero.
Patched
up.
Yeah, it's gonna get patched up.
Give it a medal.
Gonna get a massage. Gonna get all the fine ladies and like lands as well. Oh boy.
It's gonna be given like a reef.
What?
Or something tangible.
Yeah, you go. Oh god. God damn it, Yaku.
And a Banshee is back at it. Very nice target firing coming down from Azure. Again, keeping it alive.
Yeah, Banshee staying alive as 4 drones go down. The threat of the Banshee is still there as well. Meanwhile, Oreo, he's just struggling to really get his economy up and running to maintain control of his 4 bases. We do see he has been on top of his tech, right? The Lurker Den is on the way. He's working on 1-1. He's working on his Hive. I imagine going to be getting either Vipers out ASAP or the Lurker upgrades regardless. But Azure, oh boy, he's getting ready. He's getting ready to push out.
Yeah, pretty much almost an anti-time in here coming out from Azure. Gonna be able to hit before Oreo hits the sweet spot of all of his upgrades. He's gonna hit with his 1-1 as well. This isn't a dedicated push. He's not pushing with his entire army. He is just trying to get whatever damage he can before Oreo has enough to defend his bases.
Exactly. And now, oh god, the other thing about losing all those queens early on is the creep spread. The creep spread is just barely connecting all the bases of Oreo. He's not even anywhere near halfway across the map, especially since more tumors are being taken out. So this is really going to hurt, especially with the follow-up push when Azure finally decides to move out with his main army.
What's it called when the highway is not 100%?
It's a Polish highway? Is that...
That's what Oreo's got right now when it comes to his creep.
Oh god.
It's an intangible highway.
It's intangible, mate. It's inert, if you will.
Yeah. Or wait, is it?
God damn it. The roaches are taking down some of these deepers. Again, these roaches, they do need to be traded out as they are a bit of a waste of supply. Thankfully, they do get some value, but
I mean, it kills a couple of supply depots, but I'm just looking at the supply right now for Azure. Nowhere near supply capped. He's building down his depots, mostly as defensive structures, so he can afford to lose a couple and still have enough to max out. This is a less than ideal drop for Azure. And the first key win here for Oreo.
Mate.
He's bought himself a little bit of time.
Oreo needed that win, okay? he needed something to go his way this game, and he just happened to have his entire army in his main base. He even had a couple of queens here at the third, so completely shutting down 3 entire medevacs full of units. Like, mate, that's great. Finally, Oreo has a little bit of momentum going his way. But is it going to be enough to prevent Azure's inertia? I was about to say, if you say something about goddamn inertia, you out of this goddamn broadcast, mate. Oh, God. Meanwhile, Oreo, yo, with his excess minerals, he's just expanding all over the place. Oh,
yeah, this is what we wanted to do in the last game. And it's really important that he does it now. The Vipers are starting to get very badly bruised. That's a nice blinding crowd, but there is a decent amount of tanks here for Azure. Doesn't really matter in the end. Stim's right on top of the entire army. No Banelings, and I don't even know where the lurkers were. Like, mate, no AoE whatsoever with that army in Azure. He's just breaking his way forward. I can tell you what, there were lurkers in that army, and they're all dead, mate. There were like solid 4 or 5 lurkers in the middle of that. And I was about to say, Oreo, he was caught out of position. He did not want to fight there whatsoever. Going down a ramp into all this like sieged up and stim bio, like that was just, oh my God, the worst case scenario for Oreo. He didn't know where the army was until it was on top of him. And now there's just so much momentum in favor of Azure. He does have a couple of lurkers, but it's not borrowing. He only has 1. Oh God, it's gonna go down. But it immediately gets taken out by a siege tank in the backline. He's trying to get another as much as if he can afford to, but it just immediately goes out. All of the energy from these Vipers has been expended. GG is called, and Azure shows off his superiority when it comes to siege units, question mark. And that's something that can be measured tangibly. GG, well played. Azure does defeat his Zerg opponent there. 2-0. Oreo, boy. That was, he just messaged me. That was unlucky. It was like Oreo losing his entire army like that, like his Vipers as well, forced to use those binding clouds again. He forced to fight. He didn't want to fight at all, but he was forced to because he was right next. The Stim Marines were on top of him, and right on top of him. Yeah. At that point. You're also doing a very good job of keeping those tanks far in the backline. And to be fair, he didn't really plan for that to happen, but once he saw that opportunity, he jumped right on top of it, forcing Oreo into the worst fight of his life. And it cost him the game, mate. Cost him the game, cost him the series, and unfortunately, cost him his tournament run, as we do have a single elimination bracket going on today. Makes it that much more exciting. But also that much more cutthroat. Yeah, exactly. As we say goodbye to a couple of these players in round number 1, the biggest name being Oreo, the other one, Run Amok, unfortunately did run into Beastlork, an incredibly strong Protoss. Oh my. I'm just looking at it right now, like, Hero versus Beastlork, that is potentially the most mind-boggling series. It's the clash of the cheese, man. Yeah, it's crazy. Honestly, under normal circumstances, I would love to cast that, but today, yeah, I don't think my mind can really handle that many levels of comprehension. Yep. Exactly. That's gotta be insane. I don't know if it's fit to be viewed on Twitch, so I'm not gonna risk it. But of course, we are following Azure into his next TvZ against his nemesis. His favorite opponent, yeah. His quote-unquote favorite opponent is Go Joey.